Ever find yourself up at night, unable to stop your mind from racing? The sensation of being restless, of having your worries circle endlessly despite the fact you're physically exhausted. It's an experience many of us have every night. Now imagine that I'm about to tell you that it can save your nights, and in the process, all of life. Gardens of tranquility and contemplation. Today, I've got something really special that helped thousands and thousands of people find peace in the night. This profound yet refreshingly simple devotion has been given to his spiritual children by one of the great saints of modern times, Padre Pio. It's not something that is taught much in churches or spiritual retreats, but the effect it has on people who use it regularly is nothing short of miraculous. I'm about to share with you these 3 magical words, but before I do that, let me ask you, how do you usually feel while you lie in bed, waiting to drift off to sleep? For others, it's a procession of anxious thoughts that march through the mind. Bills, health worries, family disputes, regrets from the past, and that thing in the future. We bring these heavy burdens to bed, and then wonder why our sleep feels thin. Our mornings open with a weight. Padre Pio knew a thing or two about human nature. He understood how important those moments before drifting off are, a threshold between the conscious mind and the subconscious, between the visible world and the spiritual unseen. What we carry with us across this threshold is not only an influence on our sleep, but also follows us into our waking life. In my many years of studying Padre Pio's teachings, I learned that this was something he advised everyone who came to him with the weight of life on their shoulders. Although his stigmata and extraordinary healings sometimes stole the headlines, it was his gentle soul and spiritual majesty that often brought the greatest transformation in the lives of those he encountered. I have seen significant transformation from those who embraced this practice every night. Folks with chronic insomnia, finally getting to experience deep, restorative rest. People with decades-old emotional damage who found surprising salves. Torn at last, families began to be reconciled. The wonder was that these changes weren't produced by expensive treatments or years of skillful effort, but by 3 loving words, confidently spoken each evening. The first sacred word he taught was grazie, that is, thank you, in his native Italian. But this is not just saying thanks by rote or social convention. It's developing a sense of true appreciation as your last conscious gesture before letting yourself drift off to sleep. Just think about it. When was the last time that you went to bed counting your blessings instead of your problems? Many of us have trained our minds to search for what's out of place, wrong or broken. It's a survival instinct rooted deep in our brains. But Padre Pio understood that deliberately refocusing our attention on what's going right causes a deep, important shift in our spiritual and emotional landscape. Real gratitude is a presence. It encourages us to stop and really see the goodness around us, despite distress. The soft bed under you, the roof overhead. Oh, the way your own heart beats without you having to give it a second thought. A kind word somebody spoke to you earlier today. A sunset you got to see. The hard parts. Even the hard parts that make you strong. Once a woman went to Padre Pio totally crushed by the problems of her life. Her husband had died. She was having money problems, and she had serious health problems. How can I give thanks in this? She asked him. His answer was gentle but eloquent. My child, do not give thanks to God for only eating, because He gives, but give thanks to God most of all for not eating whatever He spares you from, which you will never know all in this world. This changes everything. There are so many tragedies from which, even in our darkest moments, we have been spared. Innumerable graces at work under the surface of our lives. If we affirm this before we sleep, we make room for healing to occur. I suggest starting simply. Each evening, recall 3 narrow items from your day that you're genuinely thankful for. Not generic categories like my family, but specific occasions, such as the patience my daughter exhibited teaching me how to use my new phone, the surprise phone call from an old friend. This gorgeous cardinal came to my bird feeder this morning. Writing these is a small bedside journal intensifies the practice. Eventually, you'll stockpile a treasury of thankful moments to draw on during difficult times. Even more important, you'll learn to train your eyes to recognize blessing as it unfolds throughout the day, knowing you'll be recording it later. This habit of gratitude before bed has been particularly great for the old people. Research shows that regular practice can reduce blood pressure, improve the quality of sleep, and even enhance immune function. But beyond the physical advantages, gratitude makes us more resilient. That is, the ability to bounce back from life's inevitable setbacks without being all bowed out. One man in his late 80s told me that after doing this nightly exercise for a few months, he started to spontaneously thank God at various points during the day, when he was able to garden without arthritis pain, when his grandchild called, even for being able to make meals for himself, despite hands that trembled. My external circumstances are the same, he told me, but my experience of them is completely different. The second holy word Padre Pio suggested was perdono, forgive me, or I forgive. One word covers both halves of forgiveness, asking for it and giving it. Both is very crucial for a peaceful sleep. Think about all the energy that we spend harboring grudges, carrying resentment, sometimes for years. These are particularly heavy burdens to bear in our old age, when the realization of life's finite nature presses ever more insistently upon us. Maybe it's something never addressed from childhood, or a set of harsh words with a long-lost parent before that person died, or being estranged from adult children, or the neighbor whose actions disturbed your peace many years ago. Just as heavy, if not more so, are the regrets we feel for our own actions. Instances of speaking unkindly, chances to show love that we missed, promises unfulfilled, people disappointed. Many have shared with me that they lie awake at night, replaying these moments in their minds, wishing for second chances that they will never have. Padre Pio realized that nothing harms the soul and heart more than a lingering sense of guilt and resentment. They contaminate our rest and color our days. Nightly forgiveness is like spiritual dialysis. It removes these toxins from our life before they can do more damage. This is not the same thing as ignoring real wrongs or acting as if hurt never actually occurred. To the contrary, it's seeing that forgiveness, both seeking it and granting it, is all about our freedom. When we refuse to forgive, we are the one who ends up in prison. A practice Padre Pio is known to have recommended is to pause before sleep to mentally review your day, observing when you did not embody your best self. Maybe you were short with a cashier, judged a family member, or you indulged in gossip. Let's be honest about those instances, not so much to wallow in guilt, but to mature in self-awareness. Then sincerely apologize and seek forgiveness from God, and resolve to make reparations, if possible. This little ceremony scours the conscience and clears the heart to settle for sleep. One old lady wasn't sleeping because once their kids were out of the house, she was lying in bed. Anyway, feeling like a failed mother and reviewing her many mistakes. The discipline of nightly forgiveness slowly turned this tormenting narrative into soft recognition of her humanity and limitations, and then to letting go. The practice of forgiveness has a second half, which is the equal of forgiving yourself, forgiving others. Padre Pio recommended choosing one person each night towards whom you harbor ill feelings, whether from the experience of that day or long ago. Quietly forgive as you extend forgiveness, setting them and you free from the slavery of resentment. For more serious wounds, it is a process repeated for night upon night. One man in his 70s wrote that after his wife died, he found financial secrets she had kept from him during their marriage, which he now struggled to cope with. From the habitual practice of saying her name and intentionally forgiving her each night, even if he didn't feel like it, he achieved real peace and was able to preserve all of his happy memories of their life together. What makes this practice especially potent for the elderly is that it can mend relationships that may not have another opportunity to be reconciled in this lifetime. And many share tearful stories of having found peace over their parents, siblings, or friends who died before conflicts could be resolved. And remember, forgiveness doesn't necessarily make reconciliation an option or a good idea. Not all relationships are safe and healthy, even in face of our forgiveness. The freedom here is from the inside out, from how our hearts are squeezed and held by resentment. Forgiveness, as Padre Pio used to say, is the key that unlocks the door of resentment and the handcuffs of hate. The third sacred word Padre Pio advised on was affido, meaning I entrust, or I trust. This last word also finishes the spiritual prep for sleep by reminding us that as humans, we tend to bear tomorrow's burdens today. Fear of the future is keeping many people from peaceful slumber. Medical worries, financial fears, family dramas, All these feared projections loom large over our rest. Older adults have particular concerns: failing health, outlasting their savings, loss of independence, or worry about adult children with their own set of troubles. The concept of entrusting that Padre Pio puts into practice is indicative by a deep spiritual truth. Most of what we think we control is an illusion. No number of lost nights will actually solve tomorrow's problems. It'll only guarantee that we face them with less of the resources we need to deal with. The transfer when home isn't a passivity, but an activity, one of surrender. It starts with laying out particular burdens on your heart. Finally, one at a time, surrender. Picture your hands lifting these worries into God's hands. Physical release. Some people find it useful to physically open their hands when they come to bed, and then close them gradually, as a physical act of releasing. An elderly retired schoolteacher told me that after she found out she had cancer, she'd stay up at night, fretting about her treatment outcomes, medical bills, and being a burden to her children. The practice didn't banish her struggles, but it brought her back to restful sleep that equipped her for the real, rather than imagined, difficulties of the day. For those who find visualizing difficult, Padre Pio recommended selecting a simple phrase to repeat: "Into your hands, I commend my spirit," or simply, "I trust you with this." The words are not so important. What is the desire of the heart to let go of something it never controls. This discipline affirms the space of our personal humanity and connects us to divine means beyond us. It's especially poignant for older adults who are coming to the end of life, when issues of ultimate meaning and purpose often take center stage. A man coming up on his 90th birthday wrote to me to say that this practice had changed his relationship to his mortality. "I bring close to him every night whatever I have left, however few or many the days may be. This little deed has given me rescue from the dread of death and the eager clutch at life. I sleep well and wake up prepared to take whatever each day gives me, however it might." These three words, thank you, forgive me, I forgive, I entrust, comprise a trinity of spiritual practice. Taken all together, they cover our relationship with the past, gratitude, our relationship with others and ourselves, forgiveness, and our relationship with the future, trust. When pursued earnestly before bedtime, they prepare the ground for rest and a completely new way of life. The beautiful part about this is how simple it is to get started. It needs no special learning, no fancy rituals, no physical challenges that could be hard on the aging. 3 simple words, uttered from the heart in the still hours before sleep, takes the mind. Start tonight. Don't wait for perfect comprehension or for ideal circumstances. Start where you are, with whatever breaks your heart today. On some nights, one element of the practice may need more work than the others. I think maybe today let you down in some ways that makes gratitude hard. Or maybe you are wrestling with how to forgive someone who has tarnished you deeply. Note, be kind with yourself. It's a practice, not a performance. Some have found it useful to produce small reminders, a note card by the bed or computer with the 3 words, "Calvary redeems everyone," "Calvarios redimem a todos," a lovely bookmark in a prayer book, or yes, a screensaver on a phone or tablet. These visual reminders aid in setting the habit until it's as natural as brushing your teeth before going to bed. Although based in the Catholic faith of Padre Pio, the wisdom of this practice is by no means exclusive to Catholics. People at all perspectives have found these 3 words life-changing. Gratitude, forgiveness, trust, common human hungers that bind us across our divides. I've watched this practice change lives in extraordinary ways. A widow whose eyes drifted shut instead of watching TV in the middle of the night because they hadn't seen a good night's sleep in the 5 years since her husband died. A withdrawn grandfather attempting to build up the nerve to reach out to his son for reconciliation. A young woman with serious health problems, outwardly battling treatment with remarkable peace. They're not always sweeping or instantaneous, but they are sustained and cumulative. Just as water etched on stone causes rivers and grooves to form, these 3 words are etching new channels in our heart over time, so that grace may flow more easily and freely. I want to tell you something very personal. I was skeptical at first when I first learnt about this practice some years back. How could something as simple as that possibly solve the difficult things in my life? But I agreed to give it an honest shot for 30 days. The first 30 nights showed me patterns that I had not been aware of. how quickly I could find what was wrong instead of what was right, how I could not let go of old pains, how much energy I wasted on worrying about things that were out of my control. Little by little, I began seeing small changes. I slept more soundly, woke more peacefully, became less upset by problems. On the few nights I missed, I felt the change back, the old habits of rumination, worry, and overthinking reasserting themselves. This is what convinced me of the power of the practice more than any theological argument could have. And what ended up surprising me most was how those 3 little nighttime words started impinging upon my daytime hours. I discovered that I couldn't help noticing blessings throughout the day, knowing I'd remember them at bedtime. I grew more eager to resolve conflict and misunderstanding, avoiding bringing them to my evening review. And more, I found myself handing over anxiety to God in the middle of the day, rather than bearing its burden until night. That is exactly what Padre Pio promised, that these bedtime words would eventually act like the many becoming threads of our waking hours too. The lines between prayer and day-to-day living get fuzzy, so that our spiritual practice of prayer begins to form our perspective and our reaction to all we meet. And particularly for our older viewers, I'd like to emphasize that it's never too late to start. Whether you are 70 or 90, whether you have practiced spiritual disciplines all your life or are just starting to explore them, these 3 words can usher in new levels of peace in your nights and days. On the contrary, your experience and wisdom of life have made you particularly open to this work. You've lived long enough to realize the absurdity of certain mental habits, worry that never fixed anything, resentment that never redressed a wrong, ingratitude that never enhanced any joy. This awareness is fertile soil in which new patterns can settle. I invite you to share this practice with others in your life. Grandchildren sleepless over school anxieties, adult children dealing with work stress and parenting pressure, friends coping with illness or loss. One quality of spiritual wisdom is that its presence makes it to be more. If you felt a connection with this video, I encourage you to join our community of spiritual seekers. Subscribe to our channel, Padre Pio Catechesis, for more reflections from this popular saint, whose timeless wisdom is still very applicable in our world today. Why not join through our God Protect Me subscribers area at Padre Pio TV, with more exclusive content delving deeper into the teachings of Padre Pio. I would love to hear what this is like for you. What has it done to your sleep, your relationships? What does your typical day look like? Tell us what your own path has looked like in the comments, and maybe your story can be exactly what another viewer needs to hear right now. Remember too, spiritual change rarely occurs through flash insights or complicated methodologies. More frequently, it happens through simple little habits sincerely upheld. Rituals as modest in scale as these 3 words repeated night after night by an ever-widening heart. Tonight, as you lie down to sleep, I invite you to practice it. Say genuinely, I thank for the blessings of this day, known and unknown. I want to say sorry for my imperfections, and I forgive those who have hurt me. I commit my tomorrow into the care of your love. Gratitude, forgiveness, and trust, the 3 movements of the heart, open up sacred space for real rest and renewal. Some have wondered if they detract from their usual prayers or devotions. Absolutely not. It plays like a dream with other spiritual modalities. Call it a last distillation, a means of condensing the constituents of spiritual life into 3 words you can take with you into sleep. Some question if it's even beneficial to go through these words when a person is depressed, in grief, or in spiritual drought, when the prayers feel empty and God feels distanced. These are the very moments when future events are born, Padre Pio would say, and it is a time to make up for the shortages of more complex processes. When emotions and inspiration let us down, faithful practice carries us till the renewal comes. I'm thinking of an older man who started doing this while in mourning for his wife. At first, I couldn't think of anything to be grateful for, he told me. My world had collapsed, but I made myself name one little thing each night. The neighbor who brought us food, the cardinal that came to the feeder she'd hung, the sound of her laugh that caught me off guard. And oh so slowly, these little slivers of ongoing goodness through catastrophic loss opened pinpricks of light in his grief. This practice is not a substitute for professional help when it is needed. If you are clinically depressed, deeply anxious, or suffering from complicated grief, please get the medical and psychological help that you need. Spiritual disciplines partner with these valuable resources. they do not replace them. What's particularly precious about Padre Pio as a teacher is that his teaching is all about integration, bringing our spiritual awareness into the most mundane aspects of life, such as the transition between wakefulness and sleep. He knew spirituality was not confined to religious services or set prayer times, but infiltrated every part of human life. His personal life was an expression of this integration. Though he underwent an intense experience of mysticism, including bearing the stigmata, the wounds of Christ, on his body for 50 years, Padre Pio stayed in touch with the reality of human proportion. They approached him not just for dramatic healings, but also for advice about family troubles, work dilemmas, and how to live faithfully in a complicated world. His routine before bedtime is similarly insightful, answering our common human needs for thanksgiving, forgiveness, and confidence in the providence of God. Its appeal is its simplicity and availability. Theological education not necessary. No complicated routines to learn. Only 3 words, earnestly spoken, will help to make room in our brains for the divine work to go on unconsciously as we sleep. Largely beyond its effects on individuals, I've seen how this practice impacts relationships within families. Couples who say these 3 little words together before they go to sleep are less likely to feel like they're sleeping with the enemy. This nightly thanks setting is one of gratitude, not ingratitude. Being in the habit of asking and granting forgiveness along the way keeps resentments from building up, and giving worries to one another acknowledges human limitation and divine support in confronting the challenges of life. For grandparents, to teach this simple practice to grandchildren and to do it together is an invaluable legacy tool to maintain spiritual and emotional health that will benefit them their entire life. One grandmother told me her 10-year-old grandson, who suffered from school-related anxiety, started sleeping through the night after she explained these 3 words to him. Now, when she comes over, he reminds her, "Grandma, don't forget our special words before sleep." This is especially comforting to the many who live alone in their old age. The cloak of darkness can intensify any sense of isolation or vulnerability. These 3 words connect us to the divine presence that won't quit loving us, to the human family at large, as we are released by forgiveness from every social debt, and to life's singular goodness by means of gratitude. So as our video comes to a close, let me give you a tangible challenge. Make a decision to apply these 3 words consistently for 30 nights. Not just when you remember, but every night as part of your bedtime ritual. Write briefly about your experience if you're up to it, paying attention to how much sleep and mental, emotional, or daytime alertness, if any, has changed. Try it for 30 days and see if indeed it is that simple, and whether your nights and days have been set on fire, as Padre Pio promised. If you value this content, please join us in our mission to spread his words. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and help us continue to offer more great lessons, or support us by purchasing God Protect Me membership. Your participation helps algorithms spread this content to others who can benefit from these timeless teachings. But remember the most important part. Spiritual growth takes time, one day at a time, not instant metamorphosis. Be kind to yourself while you're acquiring this new habit. Other nights, these words will come just pouring out of my heart. On other nights, they might feel mechanical or hard. Both parts of the experience are part of the process. Thank you for letting me share this great teaching with you today. May these 3 holy words, thank you, I'm sorry, I trust, fill your nights with a sense of peace and your days with fresh hope. Until we get together for our next video, God bless and keep you, and may He ever hold you in His arms.